Welcome back to my channel, Chanel's channel. I know the name's a bit corny, but I love it. It's super straight to the point. And it's just gonna be like a bunch of travel, lifestyle. I hate that I say this. I would not call myself a travel blogger. I travel, I'll start doing some vlogs here and there. But mostly I just want to be a person who gives out information that I feel is important, and also get more of ideas and conversations from other people that have similar and different experiences that could also be beneficial to like the people who watch this channel. So this video at least will be about some traveling, especially my time in France and going back to France. If you did watch my first two videos, it was me back in 2020. That was like February 2020, right before the pandemic like really started and like taking up and like gotten really serious. This was the time people were talking about it, but like nobody was sure what it was yet. There was like people were still like, oh, like it's not that serious. But then it got serious. So if you watch those videos, it gave you a little bit of context of just like what it was like for me just moving to France for the first time by myself, completely solo. I was an au pair when I first started. I went to France right after graduating university. I talk about my experience from pretty much transitioning from being a math major pretty much in university to just picking up, leaving, and then becoming a nanny, or as they say, au pair here in France. So with that experience, I was pretty much living in with the family, taking care of the kids, teaching them a little bit of English is something that I wish I did a little bit more of. But then my time was cut short because of COVID. I had to fly back home right away. It was, as you could possibly understand, like very nerve-wracking. I was in a completely different country. I didn't speak the language, and then I know that there's this virus going around pretty much taking out everyone. That's what it seemed like at the moment. And when I was going back, I was like, this is it. This is the end of the world. I was scared that I would never see my family again. I would have to say, like, I am super grateful, super blessed that I was with the family that I was with. I paid for my flight ticket back home, like just in time before the borders closed in France, or in the US, like they were closing the borders. And I know there was a lot of people, like those last few nights, were a lot of people who were university students in France that were American that got kicked out of their dorm rooms days before they were closing the borders. I know that not everyone was super fortunate, not everyone had a safe place to go in the midst of everything, but yeah, I was super blessed, I would say. But that's not what this video is about. This video is more about me getting back into France. So when I came back to France for the second time, I was no longer an au pair. I had another job in France the first time around. I joined an organization called Isaac. It's a long story. I had been a part of this organization back in the US when I was in university, and then when I got to France, I rejoined in like the French university system, like the club, because I just wanted to make friends, and it was a very like familiar environment, and I thought I would be able to like practice my French a little bit more, being around other French speakers. I didn't get to speak as much as I wanted to, but I definitely think that it impacted how much I was able to learn. I still to this day, 2 years later, still struggle with speaking French. I'm able to understand a little bit more now, but I'll also go into some tools and resources that I use that was able to help me on my journey of learning French and also understanding the French culture. Yes, back to the job. So once I joined this organization, I ended up applying for a higher position, which allowed me to come back to France a few months later after we kind of figured out the whole COVID situation. So I came back to France in August of 2020, and I pretty much worked on the national team of this organization, Isaac. Pretty much, and my main role and job was talking to companies, French companies, getting them to take interns through this organization, and then helping those interns, like searching for those interns and bringing them into the country. So I was able to do this pretty successfully for quite a few interns from all around the world, places like Tunisia, America, Moldova, like a bunch of places. And I felt very fortunate to be in such a powerful position where I was able to help other people have the opportunity to, one, travel, get some international experience, work maybe for the first time in a corporation that was giving them the tools and knowledge of doing this for the first time. So I pretty much understood like how to do the visa process because I was the one actually doing it, filling out the applications for the interns, putting it through the ministry, getting it approved, talking back and forth with the companies, understanding like when the interns will be in the country, all these things. This was pretty much what I was doing. And then when I finished my time in the organization, which was about a year, I actually was able to work for one of the companies that I was partnered with during my time as, I would call it like a talent acquisition, business development manager. So yes, and then once I started the actual job itself within the corporation, I continued pretty much doing that same exact job, but more working on the company side. So I was able to do more talent acquisition. I was still working with like the paperwork and stuff to get the visas and people into the countries. And then I was able to expand that not just in France, but into different offices all over the world. So I've worked with countries I worked with Canada, US, Germany, Czech Republic, and currently I'm here in Turkey because of this job and this opportunity. So that was a lot to explain, and I always want to throw out there, like, if you have any questions at all about just like about my journey and also like how you can also be able to travel, I will say inexpensively. I have to say I was lucky. For the 2 years that I was in France, okay, for the first year and a half I was in France, I did not pay a dime for accommodation, and some food too. Like I would say I wasn't paid much, but I also didn't have to pay much of anything to be able to have the experiences that I had in France, which I have to say is a blessing and not everyone can afford. But I would have to say, like, if you do want to travel, if you do want to do things and you're like, okay, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the resources, like, it's out there. If you really, really, really want it, you will find a way. And the thing is that if I told Chanel back in 2019, before I graduated, that I was going to move to France and live there for 2 years, she would not have believed me. I would have thought it was impossible. I did not have the money. I did not know how to get there. I didn't have a job. I had nothing. I didn't know anyone there. I moved to France the first time with maybe $100 in my bank account. And when I moved there the second time, I think I had just about the same amount of money. I think I had just about $100 still. And then now I'm in Turkey, and I had just about the same amount of money. Okay, so money is not my strong suit, but I know how to survive. I know how to be able to find opportunities, and like especially now with social media and all the resources that are out there, you could definitely find a way. Also, I've had parents who was like, no, you're not gonna travel to the opposite side of the world where you don't know anyone and it's dangerous. And I was like, it's what I want to do, so I have to do it. And I know that not everyone has the privileges to do such things. Not everyone has a passport to travel. Not everyone has all these different things. But I have to say that if you really want something, you will find a way. There's definitely a way for you to get what you want. But half of it is truly believing that it's possible. That is what I will have to say. So now I do want to tell you like about some resources that I have found super helpful for me for both the first time I lived in France and the second time I came back and lived there again. As you know, French bureaucracy is ridiculous, and you'll see so many YouTubers who lived in France who would tell you and rant about like how difficult it was. But like literally, I was the person. I don't want to say the gatekeeper, but I was the one who had to help people set up their bank accounts, help people get their visas, help people get the IDs, help people get the job. Like these were the things that I had to do. And I will say, I'm still like A2 level French. And I was still out here dealing with administration and getting things done. And it was helpful to a lot of people, I would have to say. So I am going to give some tools and resources that I use that I found super helpful and that other people have found super helpful, to pretty much help them, like, I guess, settle in. And this is specifically for friends. I will say, like I said, Organization Isaac, it is in over 110 countries, I believe. So if you are looking for jobs, opportunities abroad, I will say start there. They do volunteer and they also do internships in different fields too. So business administration is usually what I fall under, engineering, so many amazing engineering opportunities. The job I'm currently doing now, like I'm still doing talent acquisition and we're still like looking for people in finance, looking for people in engineering. Like if you really, really, really want to, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be 100%, but like if you want to, like, just do it. Like you might be like, I'm not qualified, I don't have this, I don't have that. Like just do it, because you just never know. Yeah, I'll leave the link in the description below, like where you can find opportunities specifically for like the company I work for and also for the Isaac organization. But I'm going to move on to another resource that I found super helpful, and that was one when I first got to France. Like I said, I was an au pair and I went to a language school. And this language school, specifically one person especially, was super helpful to just like me getting settled into like the French system, especially with having like a bank account. And once you have your French bank account, there is so many doors that open up to you. But the thing is that to get the French bank account is so difficult because there's so many documents that you need. And it's just like this cycle over and over and over and over and over again. Like if you don't have this, you can't get that, you can't get this, and because you don't have this, you can't get that thing. So okay, getting to it. So one person specifically was super helpful for me to understand like the French system and get into the French system, and it was pretty much like the headmaster of the language school that I went to. I talked about the language school like in my last video, so if you want to know more about that, you could go there. The headmaster has opened up her own kind of consultancy that is helping like foreign international students and people pretty much get settled into France. Which is super helpful because, like I said, the administration is ridiculous. So for this, I have notes here. It's like pretty much like a school counselor, where you can pretty much go to someone, talk to them about like what issues you're having and how they can help you. The company's called French Consultancy. And pretty much the different things that they can help you with is one, applying to school and universities. This is something I'm currently doing now. I'm hoping to do a master's in Paris next year, or in September, starting in September. So I'll definitely be using these services as well. Another thing is like the French language exam. So this is like the TSF or like the DELF. These are super important because especially if you want to get into universities and schools, you need to get like a B2 in like the DELF or these language exams. So I know that when I was going to the language school, we were taking classes towards taking the test, as well as they assign you up for the test. So they pretty much create the appointment and everything for you, and you just have to show up. So that was like super helpful. Another thing is finding accommodation. This is one of the hardest things. When I finished the opportunity for the first job, when I was working at the nonprofit, I had to move from my house, from the flat that I was living in, and they told me I couldn't stay there no more. And I was like, okay. And I had to find somewhere else to live in a short amount of time. And it's one of the hardest things to do, especially if you don't do it on time. There's certain windows of opportunity where if you really want to find a good place that's not super expensive, you have to act fast. So this is another good reason to use this consultancy as well, because accommodation is of course super important, but it's also really difficult to find if you're looking for a place like in Paris or in any other major city in France. Another thing is health insurance. So important. So there's a lot of rules, a lot of requirements for having health insurance. So being able to speak to somebody about how to go through this, also like getting on the phone and talking to the CPAM people, or I think that's what they're called. You have to do all this in French, by the way. So if you're not comfortable with the language, then having somebody there to guide you would be super helpful. Other thing is working, so being able to find work in France, maybe before you get here, or maybe you're here, maybe you're in France already, and you're like, okay, I'm looking for something a little bit steady. They'll be able to help you with this as well. Banking services, like I said, having a bank account in France will open you up to so many opportunities. And it's really difficult to get one because there's so many requirements. So yes, this is another thing. Airport pickup, also really important. I had a friend that came to visit me in France while I was there, and she was like, Chanel, I need your help. I don't know how to get from A to B. People over here screaming at me in a language I don't understand. And I was like, girl, girl, I don't, okay. So yeah, if you're someone who's not comfortable with the language, you don't know about France a lot, if you're traveling, if you go to Charles de Gaulle, you're gonna get lost, okay? It's just how it is. You're just gonna get lost. So having someone there to kind of like help you with the services will be helpful. Student life, before I get there, visa process, so many documents, so many loopholes you have to go through for the visa process. So having someone there to help you through the process, super helpful. And then lastly, student life in France. I can't tell you how many times I have heard, I'm so lonely. I don't have anyone to talk to. It's so hard to make friends. French people, they don't talk to me. They don't want to invite me into their group, into their clique. No, okay? No, it's gonna be hard. Student life is hard. Okay, not even student life. Like being a young adult and making friends is difficult enough, but then going to a different country and thinking that you're just gonna make friends, no, it's really difficult. So you're not alone, but it would be very, very helpful for you to have a community while you're there. So yeah, like I said, if you're thinking about moving and you want to look into some resources that you can use that could be really helpful for you, I would definitely say to look into French consultancy. Like I said, I didn't use the service, but the person who's created the service has been super, super helpful to me in my journey and being able to really accomplish the things that I have been able to in France. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to come back to France in the first place without her help. If I would have been able to get as far in my French without her help, would have been able to literally accomplish at least half of the things I was able to accomplish. Just because of like the help and services that she was able to provide me. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend you look into these services because you're going to need help. Like no matter what, you might think that you could do it by yourself. I can tell you, you'll do it by yourself and end up either spending a lot of money or a lot of time and being very, very frustrated. I would highly recommend at least look into it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, if you have any questions at all, if you like, I don't know, if you need a little bit more encouragement to like take that leap of faith and just to jump and to, I don't know, go somewhere different, travel abroad, try something out of your comfort zone, I'm here. You can always, I'm going to plug my Instagram. If you do want to follow me, if you do want to DM me any questions as well, if you do want to write in the comments section below, yeah, I'll be here. I'll be looking out. Like I said, I'm here to help. Like I want to build a community of people who, I don't know, want something different, looking for a conversation, looking to experience all that life can really give to you. Yeah, and that's what I'm here for. That's what I want to do. So like I said, if you have any questions, leave it, comment section, DM me, whichever way you want to communicate with me is completely fine. But yeah, I wish you the best of luck on your journey, and I guess it's also a good time to like and comment and follow, subscribe. Yeah, that's it. Have a great one.